It's here. Okay. Last time I have tried to translate popular name from the popular name from Turkey is, I forgot his name. He was a shooter in Olympic Games. He got famous because his shooting position while he's holding the gun with his right hand, his left hand was in his pocket, and this position and the success of him get him a big famous award like in internet. Anyways, let's try to do this. It's the first time I see this story now. I exactly started when I open this page and I zoom it. Yeah, I will try it. A man with knowledge, the man has lots of information about life, something like that. He's sitting near a river or a lake, not river. I don't know much. Sage. So he's a sage. A sage is sitting near a lake. And there is a dog. It is too thirsty, and when it gets near to lake, it suddenly runs, and the sage, it pulls sage. I just forget it. The word. What was it? Impression, it's something, it has to be something like that. Interest. The dog is too thirsty. When it gets near to lake, it suddenly runs away, and this catches interest of the sage. The sage watches there carefully. It is thirsty, but when it suddenly comes near to lake, the dog sees its own. What was it? Actually, I know this word in English, but I forget it. Reflection. The dog is thirsty, but when it comes near to lake, it sees him. It sees his reflection on the lake, and it scares. That's why he escapes from. That's why he escapes from drinking. Then the dog couldn't keep that, and then the dog not duck. The dog can't handle it. Thirsty. He's thirsty and throws himself in the lake. When he is in the lake, he can't see his own reflection and it can drink the water. And in the same time, the sage thinks about something and he tells what I learned in here, that a barrier between a man and man's willings is mostly becomes by his own fears. So he means something that in here, when a man wants something, there is a big barrier between a man and his the something that he wants, and the barrier is fear. So he can't or she can't reach what he or what she wants because of fear. It says something. It says exactly the same thing in here. If people can over if what was it? If people can overcome with that, the man or the can take whatever sure he wants, or if someone can overcome with that, he can take what he can want. But when the sage thinks a bit more, actually he realized that he learned something different in here. The sage exactly learned the thing that the sage is exactly learned in here. Even a harmony sage, there is a things to learn from a dog. So exactly what the sage is learned here, that even you are a sage or you are a person with lots of knowledge, you have something to learn from a dog, even from a dog, not dog. So share. Let me read that. So whatever you so share what you know with other people. It's something like that. There are something to learn. There are something for other people to learn something or things from you. There are things for older people to learn from you. Every person has a story. Every person has a story and has something to say. Something like that. Oh, I wanna see how AI will gonna change this. Translate this. I will give this text to AI and I want him to translate it. Oh. He's sitting by a pond. Isn't that a lake? A sage is sitting by a pond. He noticed a dog dying of thirst, repeatedly coming to the pot, but running away just as it is about to drink water. He watched the events carefully. The dog is thirsty, but when it comes to the pond, it sees its own reflection in the water and gets scared. Therefore, it runs away without drinking the water. Finally, the dog, unable to bear the thirsty any longer, throws itself into the pond and, not seeing its own reflection, drinks the water. At that moment, the sage thinks, "What I learned from this is," he says, "the obstacle between a person's desires and themselves is often the fears they have grown within themselves. These are the barriers they have created within themselves. If a person can overcome this, they can achieve what they want. But upon further reflection, he realizes that what he truly learned is actually different. What he truly learned is that there is a knowledge that even a sage can learn from a dog. Therefore, share whatever you have, for there is something to be learned from you by others. Every person has a story and something to say." What's, what's the difference between pond and lake? Pond and lake. Sage is sitting near a pond. There is a dog suffers from thirstiness, and it keeps throwing, and it keeps coming. It keeps comes near to pond, and when it attempts to drink water, it runs away. The sage carefully watched, and the sage is watching them carefully, watches them carefully. The dog is thirsty, but when it comes near the pond, it's afraid of its own reflection on the sides, on the face of water. That's why it runs. That's why he escapes before drinking water. In the end, the dog couldn't bear to the thirstiness. In the end, the dog couldn't bear to thirstiness and throws itself to the pond, and it can drink the water because it can't be able to see his own reflection on the water when it is in the lake. And the sage thinks about that, and in the same moment, the sage thinks about, there is something that I learned in here that is a barrier between a person and his or his own a barrier between a person and its willings, should be willings, desires, a barrier between a person and his own desire is his own fears that he grown in himself. Something like that must be. And same thing. If the person can handle that, or if person can overcome this problem, it can get whatever he wants. I wanna see how the AI translate there. Here. So can overcome this. They can get what they want. Yeah, they can get what they want. If we think a bit more, but when the sage thinks a bit more, he realized that that's the not real thing, the exact thing he learned in here. What he exactly learned in here, that even you are a sage, you have something to learn from a dog. So I don't want to so in here. I want to say something like that, and therefore will be okay. Therefore, share what you have, whatever you have. There is something to learn. There are something for other peoples to learn from you. Share whatever you have. There are something to be learned from you by other people. Every person has a story and something